Okay guys, it's one of my first longer term videos. Usually I've just been posting short, but I wanted to go over one of like my favorite parts of Psalms because I feel like a lot of Psalms is like pleading and praying to God, like asking where God is or whatever. And this kind of comes out of nowhere. It's basically, I believe, God speaking in this context. And it says, this is Psalms 50 verse 8, right? I'm just going to break this down and everything and talk about what this means. It says, "Not for your sacrifices do I rebuke you, nor for your holocaust set before me daily. I need no bullock from your house, no goats from your fold. For every animal of the forest is mine, beasts by the thousands and on my mountains. I know every bird of the heavens, the creatures of the field belong to me." And I think God's trying to communicate, like, sure, like, I don't really care this much about your sacrifices, but he doesn't really state this, but I believe he's trying to communicate, like, you can being obedient to me is way more important, and actually following my commands and Christ's commands and being obedient to God is way more important than all these sacrifices, because God made these animals. They're all his, you know what I mean? So is it more valiant or more loving to sacrifice an animal to God, or to genuinely just be obedient to his commands and serve others like Christ did? And yeah, just follow Christ. It says, okay, so it says, "Were I hungry, I would not tell you, for mine is the world and all that fits it. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Offer praise as your sacrifice to God. Fulfill your vows to the Most High. Then call on me in a time of distress. I will rescue you, and you shall honor me." Right here, where it says, "Offer praise as your sacrifice to God." And praise can be interpreted, obviously, like I said, obedience and, following the commands of Christ and praising God, not just sacrificing something and thinking this is going to be good enough for God. And I feel like modern day, obviously, we don't sacrifice animals, but this could be communicated as just giving somebody money or something and thinking this is how I communicate with God. Because yes, works are important, and works are important to God, I believe, obviously, because Jesus committed works. He self-served for others. He did miracles. But I really think having a relationship with God is really important, and I think you get that byproduct of works when you have that relationship with God, because clearly Jesus had a relationship with God. He's the Son of God, and then obviously his byproduct was he was committing holy works, he was miracles, whatever. Okay, and then it says, "Then call on me in a time of distress, I will rescue you, and you shall honor me." So God's giving us this insurance in Psalms right here, that if we stay obedient to him, if we praise God, if we are open to having a relationship with him, call on a time in distress and he will rescue you. A lot of times we think, like, why isn't God answering my prayer? Well, that's probably because you're not praising God. You're not being open to having a relationship with him, or being genuinely, like, obedient to God and self-serving like Christ did. And it says, "But to the wicked God says, why do you recite my commandments and profess my covenant with your lips? You hate discipline, you cast my words behind you. When you see thieves, you befriend them. With adulterers, you throw in your lot." Okay, it says, "Why do you recite my commandments and profess my covenant with your lips? You hate discipline and cast my words behind you." A lot of times people like to, and this, like, back then it can be interpreted as like talking about how you're a Christian or whatever, or like praying, or like in group settings back then, praying or going to church and reciting things in church, but then obviously you're not doing anything. But I feel like modern day can be interpreted as people posting things on their story, people talking about God in public or online or whatever, and then they hate discipline. They hate the discipline of staying, like, abiding by the rules of God, abiding by the rules of Jesus, the 10 Commandments, whatever. Just genuinely being obedient to Christ. Like I said, this goes back to more obedience. That's why it says you hate discipline, you cast words behind you. You're basically saying these words, doing something, and casting those words behind you. And back then, like I said, prayer, church. Right now, I feel like it's more social media, putting on this facade that you're like a Christian, but you're genuinely not in your true life. It says, "When you see thieves, you befriend them. With adulterers, you throw in your lot." I think a lot of the time we surround ourselves with people, maybe it's like people from our past or whatever, but we feel like we have an obligation to hang out with them, or we genuinely just might like these people, but they don't really show the same values as us. When you're around them, they gossip about people. They're not seeking a greater good, which is God, right? So they don't really follow these moral commands. They think morality is kind of subjective to them, unless they see something obviously they think is evil or bad, but they don't think like, oh, maybe there is a moral law or good. I don't understand that. It says, "When you see thieves, you befriend them." Yeah, okay. "You give your mouth free rein for evil. You harness your tongue to deceit." So this is talking about, like, maybe it is cursing, maybe gossiping, whatever. You give your mouth free rein for evil. You harness your tongue to deceit. So I think we really need to watch what we say, even though some things might seem harmless, or we make maybe like jokes with our friends, maybe sexual ones. like that, you know, but like we think it's like chill, but it's probably not. Because we probably shouldn't be joking about things, even if it is a joke, even if it does seem harmless, because that can lead to sin, that can lead to thoughts about people. I don't know. You sit mangling your own kin, slandering the child of your own mother. When you do these things, should I be silent, or do you think I am like you? I accuse you, I lay the charge before you. It says, when you do these things, should I be silent? Because I think a lot of the times we do things that are bad. Like, think about a relationship dynamic. Like, you cheat on somebody, right? And you just keep cheating on them over and over again. And God is basically saying, when you do these things, should I be silent? Because God is silent when we, or I guess he isn't silent, but God is saying, should I be silent? Like, think about how fast somebody is to leave you in a relationship. But think about how God is always there no matter what. Like, you do somebody wrong, whether it's a friend, whether it's a significant other, how fast they are to leave you. But with God, it's like he's always there. He always stays. It says, or do you think I am like you? I accuse you, I lay the charge before you. So God is being very condemning in this setting of Psalms. That's why I really like it, because we can just see it from God's point of view. Understand this, you who forget God, lest I attack you with no one to rescue. Those who offer me praise as a sacrifice, those who offer praise as a sacrifice honor me. To the obedient I will show salvation of God. Just goes back to me talking about that obedience and offering our praise, and that, like, again, sorry, repetitive, but obedience to God. So our sacrifice shouldn't be giving money to the homeless man. Obviously we should do that, but I'm saying that shouldn't be like a relationship with God. Or that shouldn't be like, you can obviously give money to the homeless but not be obedient when in your own life to God. Like, you could ruin other people's lives in your own personal life by being rude, by cheating on somebody you like, or like I said, gossiping, just doing people wrong in your life and spreading that evil through their life into another person's life, causing people to be angry. They spread that anger to somebody else. But you give money to the homeless, right? It doesn't cancel it out, right? We have to be obedient to Christ, and we also have to honor him. That's why it says, those who offer praise as a sacrifice honor me. God doesn't want a sacrifice of, like I said, just doing that. So I think this was a really great part of Psalms, because most of the Psalms is just like praying out to God and like being kind of just like sad that God isn't around them. But this really just spoke to me, and I really wanted to talk about it, and it was kind of out of nowhere. So yeah, guys, for a short-term or long-term video, hope you guys liked it. God bless.